Have you ever wondered why some eating disorder stays with person for years, even when they honestly want to stop? For a long time I was asking myself that question because from the outside my life looked healthy. I exercised, I loved sports, later I got deeply into fitness and weightlifting, I learned about nutrition and I care about my body. But there was another side of my life that almost nobody saw. For many years I was living in a loop of binging and purging, and every morning I would wake up and promise myself the same thing, that this time it won't happen again. And for a long time I believed the problem was simple, I thought I just needed more discipline, more control, more willpower. But the strange thing was, the urges never felt random. There was always a pattern. And only years later did I start understanding that the story wasn't just psychological. There were biology involved. And when I began learning about the connection between the gut and the brain, many things about my past started making much more sense to me. When I look back right now, I can see that the story probably started much earlier than I realized at the time. Because as a child I was very sick often, colds, infection, things like that. And every time the solution was the same, antibiotics. Another round, another prescription. And back then nobody really questioned it. You go to the doctor, you take the medicine and your life continues, right? But today we understand something that wasn't widely discussed back then. Antibiotics don't just remove the harmful bacteria. They also change the entire ecosystem living in your gut. And that ecosystem influences much more than just the digestion, It influences the immune system, your metabolism, your mood, and of course your cravings. Something that surprised me when I first learned it is that around 80 to 90% of serotonin is produced in your gut. Serotonin is often called the feel-good neurotransmitter. It plays a huge role in your emotional balance, in your impulse control and overall mood stability. So when I look back at my childhood right now, something just became clearer to me, that my gut environment has probably been disrupted for many, many years. And when the gut microbiome struggles, the body often begins searching for quick ways to boost the feel-good chemicals, right? For me, sugar slowly just became one of those shortcuts. And I remember sometimes making, something very simple, like a slice of bread with butter and sugar. And maybe right now it sounds even funny, but at that time it was giving me incredible comfort. And for a moment, everything was just feeling calmer. Sugar has a very powerful effect on the brain. It activates dopamine and serotonin pathways, the same pathways involved in many addictive behaviors. So when the nervous system already dealing with emotional stress and it finds something that gives quick relief, it learns very quickly. It registers the pattern, This gives relief. When I was around 16, something happened that I still remember very clearly up to that day. I went to the party, I drank alcohol, I ate too much, and at some point I went to the bathroom and vomited. And what stayed with me wasn't embarrassment, it was the feeling afterwards, feeling of relief. Something in my body suddenly felt quiet. Like the tension had disappeared. And at that time, I didn't think about it much. But the brain is always learning, and it registers patterns even when we don't notice it consciously. And looking back now, I can see that my brain probably connected two things in that particular moment: overeating and releasing pressure. High school was also the time where appearance and comparison played a huge role, right? There were always girls around me who seems to be more attractive, get more attention, more validation. And even though people would often tell me that I'm attractive, I would never believe in that. I constantly felt like, something about me was just not enough. And controlling my body slowly became a way to feel safer sense of control. I had already been dieting since around 14, which means my body probably spent many years in cycles of restriction. So when the body is chronically underfed, something very predictable happens. It searches for the energy big time, all right? So the combination of emotional stress, restrictive eating, and biological signals created the perfect environment for binge episodes to begin in my life. And at first they were occasional, but over time the pattern became stronger. The cravings usually appeared together with a very specific emotional state. It might be restless, anxiety, almost like something inside of my brain switched the modes and the mind would suddenly become very focused on food. Where can I get it? What can I eat it with? How fast I can get it? I mean, everything was evolving around food. But of course, after the binge has to come the purging, the cleansing. And afterwards, there was always the same strange quiet, to be honest with you, like an exhaustion, but at the same time, almost like someone would press the reset button. And then the next morning, the same promise returned. Today will be different. One of the most confusing parts of that period of my life was how different mornings were from the evenings, to be honest with you, because in the morning I felt determined, motivated, strong, but when the evening were coming, especially during stressful times, it felt like a completely different version of myself, a version just driven by the urges instead of the intention. And for a long time, that internal conflict created a lot of disappointment in myself, because from outside everything just looked normal. I was active, I loved sports, and eventually I even became a professional athlete, but behind all those closed doors, the cycle were just repeating. So years later, I'm keep searching for the answers, and I'm coming across that book called Brain Over Binge. Reading that book was a turning point for me because it introduced something that had never been really explained to me before. That binge behavior is connected to patterns in the brain, not simply the weakness. The brain forms habits, and the habits become extremely powerful when they are tied to dopamine and emotional relief. So that realization opened the door to something much bigger for me, understanding the neuroscience, understanding some subconscious patterns, and eventually understanding the gut-brain connection. The more I read, the more I discover that the brain and the gut are constantly communicating. And it's not one-way system where, brain controls everything. The gut sends signals back through the vagus nerve, through hormones, through neurotransmitters, and through microbiome itself. Scientists would call that relationship gut-brain axis, and when you begin to learn about it, many behaviors just start making much more sense to you. Because if most serotonin is produced in your gut, and serotonin influences mood, impulse control, and emotional stability, then the condition of the gut environment becomes incredibly important, right? When that internal environment has been disrupted for years, through antibiotics, through stress, through restrictive dieting and emotional strain, the signals between the gut and brain can become unbalanced. And when that happens, the body may start searching for quick chemical relief, aka sugar, highly palatable foods, just binge cycles. And those behaviors are not random. They are often just signals from a system that has been struggling to regulate itself. And understanding that didn't magically fix everything overnight, let me tell you that, but it's changed the way I looked at my own behavior. Instead of seeing myself as someone who simply lacked discipline, I began seeing someone whose body has been trying to cope with multiple layers of stress for a very long time. That shift in perspective changed a lot, because when you start understanding what your body is actually doing, curiosity replaces self-judgment. You begin observing your patterns, you begin asking better questions, and that often is where the real healing begins. And if there is one thing I want you to take away from this conversation, it may be simply this. Sometimes the first step isn't trying harder. Sometimes the first step is becoming curious about what is your body actually trying to tell you, because once you understand those signals, you can begin working with your body instead of fighting against it. And if you would like to go a little bit deeper on your own healing journey, I left a few resources in the description below of this video, and I look forward to see you on the next one.